I'm going to roll back there and see if he will shoot you or me. Fine either way. Welcome to You Guys Podcast. I'm Rob, that's Liam, and today we're wading into one of the soggiest box office disasters of the 90s, Hard Rain from 1998. This is the fourth film in our box office bomb season, and honestly, this one baffles me. Because I like this film. I genuinely do. It's fun, it's chaotic, it's soaked to the bone, and it's got Christian Slater sprinting through a biblical flood while Morgan Freeman debates whether he's actually the villain. And on top of that, I was 14 when this came out and had a full-blown earth-shaking crush on Minnie Driver. So Hard Rain always had a certain gravitational pull for me. But even with all that, I still can't quite understand how this ended up as such a notorious flop. It's not terrible, it's not boring, it's not even incompetent. It's just, well, disjointed. A film that never quite decides what it wants to be. Is it a heist thriller, a disaster movie, a comedy, a morality play, a theme park ride? The marketing didn't know, the studio didn't know, and audiences definitely didn't. Okay, now I see now why it ended up being a flop.
Yeah.
And let's talk about Wayne of everything. The sheriff's right-hand man, the ultimate ride or die. This man goes from protect the town to robbery, murder, and full-blown rapey vibes in a single night. No hesitation, no more struggle. Just, sheriff, you want me to betray my badge and commit several felonies? Absolutely say no more. It's one of the wildest character pivots in 90s action cinema. But Liam, let me throw you into the deep end. When you watch Hard Rain, do you see an underrated 90s action gem, or does it feel like a film that drowned under its own identity crisis? I really have to stop with these film puns. I really do.
Yeah. I mean, I was just like, how many are you going to go for? I was like, I know Hard Rain is like low hanging fruit in terms of, watery puns, but I wasn't expecting like 17 in the intro.
My pirate puns last week, I couldn't stop.
Of course, there were a lot of pirate puns. Yeah. Well, we're going to have to rein it in a little bit, obviously. But to answer your question, I do think this is an underrated classic. Not a classic, no, I'm getting carried away there, but it is underrated.
Underrated gem.
Yeah, underrated gem. Yes. There's a reason this has kind of lived on as something of a cult classic. I think it totally went under the radar. I did see this when I was younger. I couldn't remember anything about it, but it has the air, and there's something about like the fact that it stars Morgan Freeman and Christian Slater in 1998 specifically, because I think Christian Slater is very much on the wane as a kind of leading man. Like this was the nail in the coffin for him as a leading man, with it being such a box office flop. Yeah. Between this, Bed of Roses, and I know kind of Broken Arrow did okay. But, when you see this movie and you see the poster, it gives me strong, like, Daylight vibes. It's kind of, in video game parlance, you would call this double A, albeit one with a triple A budget. Yeah. So, when you see it right from when the movie starts, you see that opening shot, you're like, oh, there's some money spent on this film. This film looked more expensive than I was expecting. But, and this is going back to what you said in the intro, its biggest issue is it just doesn't make up its mind, like what it wants to be. It's one of the most tonally schizophrenic movies I think I've ever seen. And you listed a whole bunch of things, but I was like, is a heist movie an action movie? Disaster, speed alike, Die Hard alike, Poseidon Adventure alike? It's like in parts a modern day Western. There's a hint of Assault on Precinct 13. There's a hint of fucking Face Off, which makes sense because they're going to have John Woo directing this. It's all of these things.
It's funny you should say that because Graham Yost wrote it as Speed 2.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Then realized, okay, it's not going to work, so we'll replace Keanu and Sandra Bullock, and we'll.
Which is a shame because this would have been a much better Speed 2 than the Speed 2 we got.
And that leads me to two questions. You've already said the one. First one, would there have been better with a John Woo film? I already know the answer to that. Yes,
100%.
Secondly, did anything actually happen in this film? Did you feel that it went on for about 40 to 45 minutes where not really much happened? Then you had a spate of, like, I don't know, a little bit
reveals.
Of action. Then nothing happened. And then at the end, the sheriff is like, I don't know, the world's worst cowboy villain. It was insane.
It's weird, right? This is a movie where 45 minutes in, I paused it just to go make a cup of tea because, I'm British, obviously. And first and foremost, I was amazed that it was 45 minutes in. I was like, I honestly thought it was like 20 minutes into this movie. There'd been no plot development. There'd been no character development. Things had just been happening. So I take your point. Did anything happen? Loads of stuff had happened, but I wasn't sure if I should care about any of it. And the problem fundamentally with this film is that an hour in, it becomes a much better movie. And because of all the reveals, of which there are many around the hour mark, the first half is retrospectively better after you get those reveals. But when you're watching it for the first time, and it might as well have been the first time I watched it, when I watched it yesterday, because I couldn't remember any of it. It's like for an hour, I was just like, well, things are happening. It's kind of cool. There's an abundance of fucking jet skis, which seemed to be all the rage in 1998 between this and was it Dead Rising was the same year?
98,
Was that
yeah,
the
Dead Rising.
yeah, that was just fucking jet skis for no reason. So there's tons of jet skis, loads of things happening. But what's that?
There's a dilemma. Which random jet ski film from 1998 do I prefer? And I think I might have to say Dead Rising.
I think I prefer this. But again, it's weird because it's retrospective. Because like the biggest issue I had with like the first 45 minutes to an hour of this film is that I just had no sense of what anyone was trying to achieve. Like I had no idea really who Morgan Freeman's character was, Jim. I had no idea who Tom was. I didn't know really what the cops were doing. The town itself was just kind of empty, but there were people knocking around. There was no sense of kind of real place. It was just a lot of water. And then, as I said, once you get the reveal about Uncle Charlie and then about Jim and the reason he was, doing the gig in the first place, and, the kind of knock-on effect of all that, it's like, oh, well, the first half suddenly makes sense. But you still have to sit through the first hour. So a strange experience, to say the least.
Yeah. You said about the characters, and I do have to ask, right? Would anyone have really convicted Henry if he would have just let Betty White just I don't know, breathe in a lot of water?
I mean, the whole Betty White thing is a strange aside in this movie, which I only adds
she was
to
in
the
it when she walked out
inconsistencies.
in the thing. I thought, fuck me, Betty White's in this film. Like Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and it just seems to be the ongoing joke that she's a dickhead who everybody thinks, they'd be like, it'd be nice if she just kind of drowned. And for the most part, it's like she wanted to drown. But like I said, she's not the problem. It really is. And maybe you had the same issue. Like the ambiguity of everybody's motivations at the start. Like you don't know if Jim, being Morgan Freeman, is some kind of master criminal or not. You're like, well, how come he's kind of got to the truck? You don't know really who Tom is. So you don't like you think like the obvious comparison again, you mentioned earlier, is Speed. One of the great sequences they have in Speed is actually the opening section where they establish both Keanu's character and Dennis Hopper's character with the bomb in the in the lift and all that other nonsense. Right, yeah. So you know who they are, you know what the kind of expectations are. Whereas this, people just appear on screen and you're just like, wait, is this supposed to be important? And you just don't know until, like you said,
it's the random thing where they're all talking about money in the bar, and then Morgan Freeman's like, "If you talk about money, I'll fucking kill you."
Which is a great use of a crossword, by the way. It's a fantastic use of a crossword.
Yeah, it is, really is. Again, you're absolutely right. There's no setup for them. It feels like that this was their first job, and they're just a bunch of guys that they've got together. But then maybe not, because at the same time, they seem to know each other. Like asking Ricky to start sprouting Bible quotes to give me, to help me move along. Yeah, but it's like
that's his motivation. He needs like biblical verses,
but
and Ricky provides two, and then gives up. And he's like, next thing you know, he's quoting the boss, Bruce Springsteen. He's like, oh, I've run out of Bible verses. I was like, dude, you gave like two. That was all of the Bible verses you have.
But he's using him like they've known each other for years and they're a well-oiled crew, but they're still acting like they hardly know each other, and they've just all been put on the same job by it feels like when you get these films where the mastermind gets a bunch of people together to do a job and none of them know each other. It's really I think I used the word in my intro. Well, I know I used the word in my intro. It's really disjointed. And then it's that little build up as well of I bet you can't tell who the real bad guys are going to be. No shit, Sherlock. You got fucking Private Drake and Randy Quaid as your sheriff. Of course they're going to be the bad guys. Whether you've seen
Randy
this film
Quaid
before
is
or not.
in fairness.
Randy Quaid is good in it, yeah.
And as much of a psycho he is, he does elevate most of the movies he's in, and he is quite good in this.
I kept confusing Phil for Cowboy from Mighty Ducks 2. For some reason,
I can see that. Yeah,
it's not him, but I kept confusing him for Cowboy from Mighty Ducks 2. Even like the way he spoke and everything.
Yeah, he's got a certain
really hated. I've got a better Rob take, so this was nearly a Rob take. The way Phil says Wayne, for some reason,
I kept you saying Wade.
It just really upset me. The way he's saying
Wade. I mean, quite a few things upset me about this film, and like you said, the fact that when they show up, I couldn't get my head around initially. I'm like, are they like a team that have been working together? Because this isn't established. And of course, by the end, you kind of get the impression that they're very much just opportunistic to a certain extent. That it was like a collection of down on their luck guys who've decided, oh, we've got an opportunity here to make some money because of
Charlie.
Uncle Charlie,
Ed Asner.
who's yeah, he's the guy from Up, isn't he?
I knew you were going to do that. Yeah, he's the old
Yeah,
man from
yeah.
Up. Yeah.
Yeah, which is awesome. But yeah, you find out like, Charlie's like he was in on it. Although Charlie, like if ever you get this in movies every so often, when you see a character on screen and as soon as the gun starts shooting, you're just like, he is fucked. And just Charlie was just inevitable.
As soon as you see him on screen, because bless Ed Asner, and I love Ed Asner, and I'm actually going to do a Will Ferrell film that he was Santa in Elf.
Yeah.
Yeah, but as soon as you see Ed Asner on screen, you're like, well, he ain't keeping up with them, so he's dead. He fucked.
No.
And that was when I watched this at 14, by the way, not now.
Mhm.
As soon as you see him on screen, like he's the catalyst to
Yeah. He is. But like,
going.
yeah. But like I say, at this point, I'm trying to get my head around whether Morgan Freeman's character Jim is some kind of criminal mastermind or just a complete fuck up. Because you see the people around him, and they are the strangest collection of criminals you will ever see on screen. Like one of them's a teacher with taped glasses. You got I think that his name was Mr. Miller. You got Ray, who's playing the quintessential bad guy who just says damn a lot, albeit one who kind of quotes a few kind of Bible verses, which is very strange. And then they've got Kenny, who is without question the worst criminal ever put to screen. Like he is so beyond, he is such a liability that it undermines any sense of gravitas that Morgan Freeman's character has, where you're just like, why the fuck would you have this bozo in your team? And of course, they throw in a line later in the film as he's dying, a surprisingly touching death, I might add, for a character who is fucking horrendous for the entirety of the movie. Like, oh, well, I told your dad I'd take care of you. And it's like, well, thanks for explaining that, because for the most part, I thought, Jim, that you were, the crossword led me to believe that you're smart, like, which was a cool way of kind of framing it. It's like, we don't have to explain it. He does crosswords and he's threatening. Kind of cool. But then he also brought Kenny along, who is the worst criminal of all time.
Like Kenny was like, I don't know whether the writers, well, any of the creators of this film tried to like subvert that trope on its head, because usually you get the loose cannon guy of the crew, the one who shoots the guy, like shoots Uncle Charlie, but he's done it because he's just a psycho.
He's a psycho,
Not the, I don't know, the fucker. Like you rarely see in a heist movie the fucker.
No, usually the psycho is they're really good at their job, and that's why you have them on board, and they're really good in a pickle, but they're also a liability because they're
the other thing is
insane.
They've brought this guy into their crew. They were a 3-guy crew. They needed a 4th. They brought this guy in on a recommendation. Turns out he's a fucking psycho. Fine. But now, and this one, they're like, no, we'll turn him into a fuck up. He does the same things as the psycho. He does the chase downs. He does the spectacular death, like the electrocution. He kills Uncle Charlie. He does the same things as the psycho in the group would do.
Yeah,
we'll just make him a goddamn idiot instead.
Yeah, just make him an idiot. Like right down. Like there's a sequence later on when they're just like, "I'll try and be professional." The only thing I'll say in all their defense is, and it was just a weird year. Jet skis were just, no pun intended, in the water in 1998. And they were just like, listen, we're going to get jet skis into this movie. Another reason this movie feels quite schizophrenic, just the abundance of jet ski action. As soon as he gets on one, he's just riding it around the town, shooting a gun into the air. It's just like, all right, whatever, dude. Like when he shoots Charlie, they don't create enough of an excuse for him to be shooting. Like usually you'd be like, oh, he gets scared or he gets jumpy. He just immediately just opens fire for no apparent reason. He's just like, for fuck's sake, Kenny. And even when Jim says, when they're looking for Tom, when Tom runs off with the money and they're like, all right, find him, but don't shoot him. We need him to tell us where the money is. He screams as he's riding his jet ski through a school, I might add, ramming speed. What does he think is going to be the result of him ramming a human being with a jet ski in the face? You might as well have shot. Like, he's clearly going to kill him. He's such a bellend.
He's not thinking. And
no, he's not. That you're being very kind saying.
I am being very good. Did you think as well that really didn't need a payoff? Like when they broke into the boat store, and first of all, again, Kenny, let's steal a car. Fucking hell, dude, use your fucking head. And they go, no, we need this little boat. And then he's going, oh, let's get this speedboat, or let's get this, let's get that. And then the camera's looking directly at him. He goes, Jim, what about that? And you're thinking, ooh, what could it be? Oh, it's just a jet ski. Well,
It's
that
just a
didn't
jet
feel
ski.
like a payoff that we needed. Like it needed to be
It
something
didn't,
better.
and it's
And
so
again,
weird how the
but
movie keeps jumping back and forth.
they're racing in boats and jet skis. And I know they said
Mhm.
about the water being shallow, but I still think it might have been a bit shallow for jet skis and okay, maybe not that schooner. Because Tom's running for him. It's only waist deep at the
Yeah,
moment.
I don't know if that all makes sense. I mean, I've got to appreciate the kind of the technical aspects of making the movie work with very limited CG, and the fact that this was from a first-time director, Michael Salomon, who was a cinematographer turned director. He'd only worked on A Far Off Place, I think it was, in 1993, which was very much jumping off the back of the success of The Lion King. It was like a live-action equivalent, I
Are you on
suppose.
about
And
directed?
since even directed,
Sorry,
yeah,
you're on
yeah.
about
Oh,
yeah, because I know he's directed TV. Sorry to interrupt you.
no,
So
no,
the
let's go for it.
reason why he got this,
Hmm.
well, one of the reasons why he got this was he was recommended by Cameron, of all
Yep,
people, because he was a cinematographer in The Abyss. So he's worked with
yep.
water and
He
water
has worked
tanks.
with water. Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah, yeah.
will you go in there? I do apologize if that's
No,
where you
no,
were going
I
there.
was going to get around that. I
Yeah,
was doing it in a roundabout way, but like you say, he's a cinematographer. He's worked on The Abyss, but to take it, yes, I appreciate he's worked on water or underwater, as it were, when it comes to The Abyss. But this is a clearly massively budgeted movie, which I don't think,
yeah.
like, a lot of people will look at this and be like, wait, you're doing box office bomb season. You picked like Hard Rain. Like this movie cost a lot of money. I think it was like 17 million. You can see it on screen. And from a practical perspective, it's really impressive. I can only imagine, like, in terms of getting it to work, just from, what's the word I'm looking for? Continuity. Like to get this to work on a continuity level where people are constantly jumping in and out of the water must be an absolute fucking disaster.
Do you know?
And for the most part, he actually does a good job. You can see that he used to be a cinematographer on a practical, technical
Yeah,
level.
it looks
This is a
great.
good looking movie.
Yeah,
It's just
it
the
does look great.
script and tone is fucking wackadoo. It's still fun. It's just crazy.
Do you know what helped push this budget up like a lot?
All the
I'm gonna
water, I assume.
well, no, well, sort of. Christian Slater's contract for this film stated that his body temperature should not be allowed to drop by more than zero point 0.1 degrees. Okay. To accommodate this, all fake rain was kept at 1 degree above body temperature. Because of this, the film's heating budget was almost triple the special effects budget.
I mean, it's insane, but it also goes some way to explain some of the more bizarre sequences, like the one where he sits in the car and they have like an oddly romantic moment with him and Minnie
Yeah.
Driver's character. And you're just like, they're just chilling, like they're sitting in a bath or like a
Yeah.
pool together. And it's because the water is being heated. They should be freezing fucking cold. But of course, Christian Slater, who's clearly a delicate little soul, just couldn't deal with the cold. So you
his
can imagine him
contract.
trying that in a fucking James Cameron movie. You go fuck yourself.
Dude, I'll accept that you want only red M&Ms in your fucking your
Mm-hmm.
trailer, fine. But no, 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 no. Like there's somebody on that set whose sole job it was to keep taking his temperature. Right, bend over, Christian. We're just going to make sure that your temperature is still 0.1
It
degree.
must have been so tricky because that is the thing with this film. When you watch it, there is so much water. The sets
Yeah.
must have been absolutely massive. And like
Well,
I said, it
they
looks
were
great,
they
but
were mad when
nobody looks uncomfortable because they're
no.
jogging around in bath water.
I think for they were all tanks. Like
Mm-hmm.
they were just tanks, like massive water tanks, and all
Yeah,
the
yeah,
sets
yeah,
were built inside, which again is a fucking technological marvel. I love when they
yeah.
do
Well, it's
things
a
like
great
this.
combination because they did actually shoot on location in Huntington, Indiana, where
Yeah.
they make a big deal of saying it's set in Huntington, Indiana, which is weird because there's no dam there, but we'll let it go. Like, most people obviously don't know that, but it's strange that
I mean,
so
that
much.
dam was weird. That dam, sorry to interrupt again,
Oh, go for
that
it.
dam felt like it didn't belong in the same town.
Well, it doesn't. That's because it doesn't exist anywhere near that town.
Yeah.
The whole damn thing is this bizarre, like seventh kind of storyline going on, despite the fact, like, because it happens so early in the film, you just assume it's because of the, as the title would suggest, hard rain. So you're just accepting, oh, there's flooding going on. Then there's all of a sudden a million and one kind of plots going on at the same time. And then right at the end, when you think nothing like else could possibly happen. This film is fucking insane. Like, oh yeah, the dam has burst, so there's just going to be loads more water. It just keeps throwing things at you, and that brings you back to when I was talking about like pausing this film and realizing it was 45 minutes in. Excuse me. Like, whatever your issues might be with this film, and there are plenty of reasons you could pick this movie apart, it just does not stop. And all I can think is, like you said, initially this was going to be a Speed 2 follow-up.
Yeah.
And if you go back and watch, Speed One, it's not just in the name. It's like that movie is just relentlessly kinetic. There's very little narrative. There's little character development. As I said, that's why the opening shot is sequence is so important. The film just goes, just go, go, go. This film is trying to do the same thing. It just doesn't pull it off with the same level of panache. And the problem comes back to the fact that tonally, they're just not picking a side. 1 minute, it's really dopey and you've got the jet skis. Then the next minute, like the shootouts, for instance, they look fantastic. The camera shake and the audio, I actually think the shootouts, without it, like, they don't overdo it. It's just people shooting guns. But the way they film it and shoot it makes it feel like the fucking end of the world. It makes you feel like you're standing next to them. It's brilliant.
It's the running through the water as well. I think looked absolutely fantastic when he's running through it and he's running through, and you can feel the adrenaline pumping. Like you said, the bullets flying, everything like that. But it was the chase in the school that really said to the viewer, "Well, fuck it, logic is out the window." Fuck it, logic is like.
But then, like 5 minutes later, they expect you to kind of reapply logic. It keeps going back and forth. Like you say, it's like 1 minute, it's like, oh, we're taking this relatively seriously. The next minute, like, oh, the jet skis are back again, or we're firebombing a church, or we're jumping through a window, or like the finale in particular, which we'll get to in a moment.
Yeah.
It goes full John Woo for the last 5 minutes of the film, leading right up to one of the most ludicrous freeze frames out of all time.
Were you not expecting dubs to fly when they went through the window? We'll get to it in the end.
Absolutely.
Chekhov's Mr. Mellor's bomb, mind?
Of course.
Right? So that bomb fucking like blew up half the world when it went off. But he was going to use that to blow the bloody doors off.
You were only supposed to blow the bloody doors off.
Thank you so much for getting the hint, because I can't do that action. So thank you.
Well, low hanging fruit. I'm not going to miss that opportunity.
But like he would have sent that fucking thing into space.
Yeah. It's another strange choice. But I mean, my bigger issues though are I like the fact that for the most part, the characters are like morally grey and they get slowly corrupted as the movie gets on. It's like the draw of this money that, you think about, like I said, once you find out like 45 minutes in, an hour in, that this goes back to Charlie and that Jim's just like a construction worker, whoever the fuck he is.
Yeah.
And they're just a bunch of dudes who are down on their luck and they've decided this is an opportunity to get some money and make a new life for myself. And you're like, all right, that's kind of cool. And Morgan Freeman keeps running that all the way through. He's like morally grey, but he's not a monster. He just wants to get the money. He's committed to this. He wants the money. He wants to get out of it. And for the most part, for like 80% of the running time, Randy Quaid is the same kind of character. It's like, obviously, he's been planning this behind the scenes. And, you're supposed to believe, like you said.
Do you think he was planning it? Do you think Randy... I don't know if Randy Quaid...
I couldn't tell if he...
I think it was opportunistic.
In fact, yeah. No, because he seems like quite a stand-up guy. But so it makes it even more ludicrous, the fact that it was opportunistic. And like you said, Wayne is suddenly, he's on board straight away. Hank just can't wait to get his dick wet. He's just so into it. And but even then, after they decide to go on this like opportunistic journey, like, oh, we're going to grab the money, the town's fucked, let's get out of here. He's like an interesting character. And then right at the end of the film, he turns into a ludicrous one-note villain. I was like, oh, well, Sheriff Collins isn't that bad. Then he shoots Jim. Then he fucks off Hank. By the end, when he's doing the kind of John Woo slow motion, I'm going to shoot Minnie Driver as well. I'm just like, this is something
he was one step away from mustache twirling. He
really was. Yeah, but you know what I mean? For 80% of the film, he was nothing like that.
He was
nothing like
that's what I mean. He was such a nice guy. He seemed like, oh, I'm going to do my job because I want my last 2 paychecks, blah, blah, blah. They may have fucked me over, but I'm a stand-up guy. Like, there was no planning of this robbery. And Wayne was like, and again, Wayne, he turns around, he goes, no, I'll do it. And Hank, thinking about it, all of them, it's like, they're doing a lot for $750,000. You're doing a lot. You're risking a lot for in the long run. And I know it's 98, but in the long run, not a lot of money.
Yeah, it's weird that they didn't push the boat out in terms of the actual amount of money. Like at the end, Morgan Freeman gets, and I'm glad Jim got his bag at the end. He got that bag and he gets to.
Oh, that was a reshoot.
Yeah. Which, by the way, is easily you could see it's a reshoot because he gets the bag and then they have a shot of him clumsily rowing away, and it is the worst looking bit in the film. Like, this is a good looking movie for the vast majority. The scene of him rowing away is so clearly an ugly reshoot. It looks terrible.
Do you know who that pissed off? That pissed off Morgan Freeman. Like
Really?
Morgan Freeman was, Jim was to die. Jim, when he got shot, Jim was meant to
Yeah, yeah,
die.
yeah. Oh
And
well,
then,
yeah, but you can
but
see,
the
like you say
audience,
about
yeah,
reshoots,
but the audience didn't like it. The audience were like, no,
because
no, no,
he's
Morgan Freeman can't
so
die. But
likable.
Morgan Freeman called them out. He said, "How dare we let the audience determine how our movie ends? You don't like,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
want me to live? That's fine." So we've gone back in and we've shot it again. Oh, I'm a criminal and I'm a killer, but
Mhm.
I've got some money and I'm alive. Like he
Yeah,
really wasn't a fan of that.
it doesn't work because when they have the kind of, and again, it's a very Western style finale when they're all in the church together and you've got Tom, you've got Sheriff Collins, and you've got Jim, and they're all kind of looking at each other and they've all got these. By this point, it's still kind of morally ambiguous. And like, the sheriff goes off the deep end by shooting Jim. When you see it in that moment, it looks like he shot him dead. He shows up 2 minutes later with what looks like a fucking flesh wound. And
Yeah,
it's clearly, like you say, a reshoot. And that leads to one of the most ludicrous sequences in the movie where Jim rides the fucking boat over the house and the fucking engine
like
goes
that.
into the fucking sheriff's face. And of course, even then, by this point, you're like, he's clearly not dead. And they're going to have
Again,
the lethal weapon homage at the end. It's
a
homage is
question.
me being kind, by the way. It's clearly a ripoff.
Even if the water got rose that far,
Mm-hmm.
you are not driving over that roof like it's a ramp because it's not that enforced.
No,
You're
it
going
just gets
through the
so
roof.
silly.
It's mad. Hey, do you know we were talking about Mr. Mellor? The
Mm-hmm.
entire film, I'm thinking, how do I know this guy? I know him.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. With the guy with the glasses, the
Yeah,
teacher guy. Yeah. No, no,
yeah.
no, no idea.
Fucking, and I don't watch this, but like when you scroll through social medias or whatever, it was
Mm-hmm.
you always come up with clips of TV shows or whatever. He's like one of the longest serving guys in those Law and Order things.
Oh,
He's like,
really?
yeah, he's like the bald captain. He's 333 episodes, 1999 to 2025.
That's amazing. And the thing is, you don't get many of these shows anymore. When we were younger, you think about like even the bigger shows like 24 and Buffy the
Yeah,
Vampire Slayer. I don't know, I'm using that as an example, but they all used to have like 24 episodes a season. There was like
yeah, yeah.
nowadays you get like 10 episodes, 10, 12 max kind of thing. But those TV shows are like a completely different beast where they seem to just run all the time. Kind of like in the UK, you think like Neighbours or fucking Home. I was going to say Home Alone. What's the other one?
Home
Neighbours
and
and
away.
Home and Away. Thank you very much. Where they're literally on every fucking day and just like, oh yeah, I'm on that show. How many episodes did you? Oh, like 7,000. It's
Yeah,
absolutely ludicrous. But speaking
Home and
of
away and
the cast,
neighbors for us, the only ones that keep jumping channels as well.
yeah, we call them
Like,
British, even though the fact that they're clearly Australian, but it is what it is.
yeah,
Um, you mentioned there about like the fact that at test screenings they wanted Morgan Freeman to live. I actually think that's one of the biggest issues with this film is he is so likable that you want him to win at the expense of Christian Slater. And my issue, and I think this was the reason this movie did for him, beyond the fact that it was a bit of a box office bomb, I think people just realized that Christian Slater isn't particularly likable as a straight leading man. He's a bit too weird. Like he's more interesting as when he's being like ambiguously cool. You think of like
look,
Cuffs and Cleaning the Cube.
Heather's
Heather's a perfect example.
pump of the volume.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
the one person in this film who isn't like morally corrupted or morally ambiguous, and he's the one actor who should totally be playing a
I will.
morally ambiguous, morally corrupted character
Do you know?
because
Even if they hinted that he thought,
he just doesn't work.
even if they hinted that he thought about keeping the money, you
Something.
know, yeah, something like that. I mean, I've got all the time in the world for him, because of Cuffs.
Yeah, but
I'll
he's
just,
good in
yeah.
Cuffs,
No,
but
no,
it's a
I get, but the
completely
what I mean
different
is,
character.
it is a completely different character, but I'll always give him the benefit of the doubt because I love him in Cuffs. I can't really say
Well,
any more
that's
than
fair.
that.
I just
But
listen. I'm a big fan of Christian Slater. I
we
just
should
don't
do
think he ever
Heathers.
worked. We should do Heathers 100%,
Yeah,
and I think he's fantastic in Heathers. I just don't think he works as like a straight kind of right down the middle leading man. And the problem is Tom is the most boring character, and I was fully expecting there to
I
be
like Tom.
because
I like Tom.
we've had all these reveals where it's like, oh well, Charlie was on there, and Jim is this guy, and the fucking sheriff's double crossing everyone, and Hank's a fucking psycho, and Wayne's a fucking rapist. We'll get to that in a minute. And then I was sitting there going, well, Tom is so good at all this that we're going to find out that he used to be like a fucking Navy SEAL or something.
Yeah, no,
And
no, no. He's
you just don't get
machinery.
anything.
No,
He's just a
I mean,
dude. He's just a dude.
the bad thing is, like, I like Tom. I think he's a decent character. It's terrible chemistry between him and Karen. You know, I like the
Terrible.
chemistry, but
And
Tom
she's
does
like, and I
have
can see why you grew up with a crush on Minnie Driver. She's so likable in this movie
well
with
this
her
and
magic, her magic Swiss Army knife.
this and Gross Point Blank 97, 98. So
Absolutely,
yeah,
she's
but
great in that as film as well.
Tom does have one of the best lines in this film. And
Mhm.
it's a film that made me it's a line that made me laugh out loud and it shouldn't have. But as I get older, I realize, oh yeah. When he's getting the boat and Betty White is going nuts, you give away our only boat in a flood. How stupid are you, Henry? And he just looks him square in the eye and goes, "Want to come with me?" I'm laughing my
Yeah,
ass off because Henry's just going. He's contemplating it for a second, thinking maybe
maybe.
I should come with you.
Well, this is a film rife with bizarre screenwriting. I mean, some
Yeah,
of the script is like, there are moments in this film, like the scene in the school when Kenny tries to ram, and he literally shouts "ramming speed."
yeah,
Tom then suddenly delivers two one-liners back to back. Then you don't get another one-liner for ages. But then it also has lines like when, all of a sudden the sheriff decided to kind of turn face and say, "I'm going to go for the money," and his excuse is, "For 20 years I've been eating shit. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Well, I'm changing the menu. From now on, everything I eat is going to be shit free." And I can't tell if that is a fantastic speech or one of the worst written lines of all time. It helps that it's being delivered by Randy Quaid, but this movie's script is just as insane as its plotting and its
yeah.
tone.
But
It's like four movies just smashed together, and
take
somehow, because it's so propulsive, it still somehow works because it never gives you time to really stop and think about it. It just kind of happens to you, this movie. And by the end, you're like, I think that was actually kind of fun. But if you stop and
take
think about it, this movie is a hot fucking mess.
take the script out of it for a second.
Tricky, but yeah, okay.
Tricky. I think the world building and the visuals I'm a fan of. The
Yes,
small
same here.
town that becomes Atlantis in 48 hours is a bit
Hmm
much. I
hmm
get that. Well, maybe not as a bit much in
I
40.
think I was wondering if they added the dam for that. If they were just like, listen, we know the rain is hard. It's in the title. But there is so much. We have to have more of an excuse for all this
Yeah.
water. Like we've
So
got
they
like speedboats and fucking jet skis. So they're like, oh, we'll throw in a dam as well.
yeah. The sets that were built to just be destroyed repeatedly, I think they looked great.
Yeah.
It's that world that it does feel alive. It's dangerous and everything's constantly leaking. But
Mm-hmm.
I I I thoroughly enjoyed the world building, but it seemed really weird as well. Like I know it's a small town, but
Mm-hmm.
everything was in 5 minutes distance. Like
Yeah.
Karen was 3 streets over. The cemetery was right by there. The church wasn't next to the cemetery. Apparently, it was somewhere else.
They're never far from Doreen's house. That's for
No,
damn sure.
yeah.
Yeah, no, and I
Who
think
and
that's the
she's
nature
a.
of
It
shooting it
turns
on
out
a
their
set.
house. I never knew as well, but their house. They're actually the general store, the fishing tackle and bait store.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Where's where's the? Did they go fishing in the dam, or is there a
Well,
river somewhere?
that's like, is there an explanation why everybody seems to have a boat? Like, does this happen all the time? It's all very strange. And I mean, my issue with it is the fact that, like you said, from a production standpoint, this is a really good looking movie. I like the set pieces. I like the look of the town. I like conceptually, I like it. But beyond the kind of narrative issues, and as you say, ignoring the script, one of my major problems is that the movie just doesn't have quite enough bite. Like when Mr. Miller dies, it feels so out of left field because all of a sudden it feels like it's out of a John Carpenter movie.
Yeah,
It
who
feels like
shot
something
him in
out of
the
a
eye?
song. Yeah, and you see the blood, and you're like, fuck, that's violent. For the most part, there's very little violence, and when people die, it's fun in a slightly ludicrous way. Like when Kenny dies, I'm pretty sure Tom puts a Shoryuken Street Fighter move on him. Like he does a rising uppercut out of the
Yeah.
water. I'm like, what fucking film am I watching? And then 2 minutes later, he's dying on the boat, and it's like this really touching scene where he's like dying from his horrible burns. I'm just like, did we need this scene? I was like, we clearly don't give a fuck about
Forget,
Kenny.
forget when Kenny died. What about when Hank died? Pretty much in the same place that Kenny died. Like he's holding on to the same thing. Okay, oh well, there's no more
Mental.
electrocution. The power's definitely out. No. There's a random butane tank that's
Yeah.
coming out of nowhere, and it's going to explode perfectly right next to you. Like
again, it suddenly felt like, especially the last kind of 20 minutes of this film, felt like a John Woo movie. I mean,
It's like the
none more so than I said when you have like, and it's literally shot in slow motion when the sheriff's bringing the gun out over the top, and you suddenly cut away and they're doing the fucking lethal weapon thing. I'm just like, my God, this film has absolutely jumped the shark, or jumped the jet ski, as it were. But
yeah.
Hank is like a perfect example. Earlier in the film, yeah, it's high concept the way that Kenny dies. But then, like you say, it feels like Hank's died in the exact same place, but in a completely different,
Yeah.
utterly ludicrous action movie. Which
Where
again,
did that butane tank come from? I don't
I
even
have
remember
no
seeing where it
idea.
came from. It's like
No idea, mate.
somebody pierced it with a bullet for it
Yeah,
to be doing that. And it felt weird as well. It was like a Final Destination scene. It was
it
hunting him.
was.
It
Yeah,
was
that's what
hunting
it felt.
him.
That's a
Yeah.
great way of putting it. By the end, it started to feel a little bit like. Well, that's the thing. It felt a little bit Final Destination. It felt a little bit Face Off. The bit where Tom is in the. It's like, who's the guy, the cop, who decides, oh, I'm gonna go with the sheriff, and then has like a change of heart. Not Hank. Hank's the crazy one. Phil. So when
Phil.
Phil, he suddenly has like a change of heart. So I don't want to be doing this because he's clearly in love with Minnie Driver, like everyone else is. He has this weird change of heart, and then literally 60 seconds later on screen, he is firebombing a church while driving around
Yeah.
on a jet ski.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, what? And then, of course, he dies a supposedly hero's death again when he decides he's not going to double cross them. I'm like, guys, you've got to make up your mind as to what kind of movie you're trying to make here. But by
I
the
love
final act, they're just like, we're just making them all at exactly the same time.
I love their revelation as well. Randy Quaid and Wayne, Sheriff, whatever Jim, whatever his name
Mhm,
was. When they've they've just seen Tom,
mhm,
okay, it's fine. Wayne, Phil, you take Mini Driver now. You fuck off. We'll leave him in here. We'll come back and speak to him.
mhm.
Something's happened. So those two are bailing something out, and Randy Quaid just looks at Wayne and goes, "Wayne, you locked him in." And Wayne goes, "Oh yeah, oh fuck it." Like they just didn't like.
Well, it was
He's
so
dead.
dumb. Like
He's
again,
dead.
you have to go on that basis that the sheriff isn't like he's not corrupt at this point. So he's trying to do the right thing. And when they lock Tom in the prison, you're just like,
Yeah,
dude, the town is flooding. This feels like a really bad mistake. And of course, it's that whole sequence is like it's well shot, but he only survives by pure happenstance. Like the tree comes, or it's not a tree, is it? It's like a kind of energy pole. What do you call them? An electricity pylon, whatever the fuck it is. It
yeah,
comes
yeah,
through, hits that. I mean, I did like his idea of using the flashlight, taking out the batteries and stuff, and
yeah,
using it as a kind of
yeah.
breathing device. But even then, he only survives because Mini Driver just happens to show up again. Oh god, a hiccup with her magic Swiss Army knife. Like that Swiss Army knife has no reason to be in the film. I don't know why she has it, but as soon as they establish it in the film, they're just like, we can use this to get her out of like 17 different
I
situations.
mean,
She uses
thankfully,
it on the fucking banister. She uses it to stab a guy in the neck.
that's what I
She
mean.
uses it to save Tom.
Thankfully, she does have it to take away Rapey Wayne, who again, his turn from
Wow.
deputy to killer to thief to I'm just going to rape a woman now is insane. Look, did
It's
you think that
so
was out of left field?
what right in a film which has got so many things, which like everything has come out of left field in this film. Everything.
Yeah,
In a film where everything has come out of left field, I don't know how much further into the field you have to go to find Wayne deciding to not only like it's not even like an opportunistic rape. He sees her in the back of the speedboat,
that
decides
that
in the
that
in a
hand movement over his face, where like he's licking his lips, sort of thing. Like, oh, he has an
yeah.
idea.
I was like, wait,
Ugh.
he's and they obviously put the camera on the back. So I was like, there's no way in the middle of this action scene he's going to like drive her off and find somewhere to rape her. And then you're like, oh, that's exactly what they're going to do. Not only that, they make it even weirder because he turns it into like a role play rape sequence. I'm like, what in the fuck? It is
And
one of
even
the
weirder,
weirdest sequences I've ever seen.
even weirder, it's flooding. He decides to do it on the bottom of the stairs.
Dude, there's literally, it makes zero sense from a practical perspective for him to decide in that moment he's going to rape her, for them to decide he's going to rape her there, and then also for any of this to be in this goddamn movie. It's one of the most bizarre choices I've seen in a major motion picture. And I'm not exaggerating that. It is the strict, I literally couldn't believe it was happening in this movie. In a movie where everything is mental, that is so beyond the pale and unpleasant. I mean,
Yeah.
seeing a rape sequence is, of course it is. It just feels so out of place in this movie and so
Is it
unnecessary.
like is Mark Rolston just? I don't want to say typecast, but the last film he was in with Morgan Freeman, he was a rapist. Okay, he tried to rape Tim Robbins, but he was still a rapist.
Still, a
Yeah,
rapist is a
yeah,
rapist.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. No, nobody's like, oh yeah, but what do you rape dudes or chicks? It doesn't matter. The first part of that sentence is the important bit. You
yeah.
don't want to get typecast as a rapist.
No,
God damn
not
it,
at
dude.
all.
Oh, joke.
I like. I mean, we always know him as Drake, don't we? Mark Rolston. Like he will always
Drake.
be Drake. Yeah,
Oh, of
from
course. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course.
Aliens. I
Well, at
mean,
least he's always got
last
that.
week I told you're not the only one. Everybody I know who likes Aliens, I see how Drake's in the film we're doing. Everyone thought it was on about the rapper.
Oh, it was just I mean,
Yeah,
that's a generational shift. For a lot of us, Drake is the colonial marine from Aliens. But you got to remember as well, that sequence is happening, and then 2 minutes later, you get like Tom, Chris's character, jumping off, I don't know, the fucking roof in a church
yeah.
and doing a kind of shotgun shot in the air, trying to shoot a guy off a speedboat in a church. And you're like, this is the same movie.
It
This is the
needed.
same goddamn
I know
movie.
I've already said it. It needed doves. I don't know why. All
No,
that it needed doves.
the end needed doves. And you think about how far removed it is from that like initial bait and switch. So when this film opens, you get that like quite impressive kind of opening shot of the town. And then it goes in and it's filmed like a Western. And it's like, oh, this is like an old-fashioned robbery. And then you realize,
Yeah.
oh, it's not a robbery. It's like a bait and switch, and they're actually just collecting the money. All very clever, all relatively low key. To get from that to where we get to at the end of this film, you're like, we have gone on a journey, a non-stop, batshit crazy journey, which rape sequence aside, is loads of fun. Like, I just want to make that clear because it's so easy to rag on this movie, but it is a great watch and so easy.
It is.
Like
It's
this
a
film,
fun
just like I
watch.
said, it just happens. It's like what 95 minutes. It just
Yeah, it's
fucking
not long at all.
steams along,
It's
and you
not
just
long.
like the old cliche is, oh, leave your brain at the door. You absolutely have to leave your brain at the door with this movie. It is essential you leave your brain at the door because as soon as you start thinking about it, everything starts falling to pieces. But if you go in the right mindset, this, like, okay, yeah, it's not the level of speed in some of the great 90s action movies, Face Off, whatever, but it's not far off. It's in like
No.
it's like a rung down the ladder, I'd say.
Yeah, it needs one or two more action set pieces to be up there, I think. But I think it's good.
Well,
I do
it
think it's
needs to
good.
decide what it wants to be is probably the
It
bigger
does
issue,
need to
but yeah.
decide where it wants to be. I mean, the making a change is going to be pretty easy. I think for most of these box office bombs, my making a change has been pretty similar, and I think yours will be too.
Yeah.
But
Well, yeah.
yeah, but I did question as well, Hank. It you've got to control the dam, right? You
Mhm.
have to control the levee and everything like that. So we have to flood the town. We've got to let water
Pretty
out.
important job when there's
Yeah,
a major storm
yeah,
coming in. Yeah,
pretty important job. Maybe for
yeah.
more than one person.
A hillbilly at that, like clearly a
Yeah,
fucking moron. And
yeah,
again, like we said, the sheriff becomes a psycho. The only person who's consistently a psycho for the entirety of the time that they're on screen is Hank.
mm,
Clearly an absolute head case. But like he would have been much better as Kenny's character, for instance, because you get that idea that he just loves fucking shooting people. He's like,
yeah.
as soon as he says like, "Oh, do you want to just blow shit up and let's steal this money?" Hank's like, "Fuck yeah, let's fucking do this." I'm like, I get this character, but why he's in charge of the dam? It's kind of like Homer Simpson being in charge of like the nuclear safety in The Simpsons.
Yeah, yeah.
It feels like a sim like, oh well, it's the 90s, so this is just what happened. But yeah, I don't know why. And like you said, the first sign of trouble, Hank just bounces anyway, or the first sign of money, as it were. But
Yeah.
again, comes
And
back
again,
to
for
the weird.
750,000, it seems you've done a lot of work for not so much. You're not retiring on 750,000.
No, it's weird, and that's the thing. I could probably pick apart any sequence in this film, like the sequence when Tom decides to save Karen, despite the fact that there's zero sexual tension between them, there's just no chemistry. But
No.
when he goes to save her, and she's like using a magic penknife, and she got to the top of the stairs after nearly being raped, she's like, "Oh well, I'm all out of ideas," and then Tom has to come and save her. The whole sequence is actually pretty tense. There's nothing more tense than just water rising. You think about like the films that do it the best, like The Abyss, which we've already talked
Yeah.
about. It's like the idea of drowning is just inherently terrifying. And that sequence is shot really well, and they build up the tension. But the whole time, they're just being really quippy together. Like the way they're talking is as if there is just zero fucking threat to their lives. Like, dude, she is moments away from drowning, and they're just like having a bit of a laugh. It's yeah, very strange. But I can say that of most scenes in this movie, to be honest.
Yeah.
And before we wrap this up, before we move on to favorite scene and all that jazz, what did you think of the freeze frame at the end of the scene? I thought it perfectly encapsulated how fucking mental this film is.
Yeah, like the last line was, what was it? That's why they felt safe enough to drive their windows, their boats through the stained glass windows. And then the look. What a weird way to end it. Like you said, you're right. It perfectly encapsulates the nuts, the insaneness of this film. But it's just like all it was missing was a scroll at the bottom going, and they lived happily ever after, or something.
Yeah, with like
that.
like ba da ba da ba ba da ba da ba da. It's like the only thing that compares to it is maybe Predator in terms of like, just like tonally completely inconsistent with the rest of the film. Obviously, Predator, what makes that work is the fact that the rest of the film is really consistent tonally, and then you have this like batch. If you're not aware of it, Predator at the end, after everyone's being murdered, with the exception of Dutch, who's clearly completely fucked the end of the film, they just have like these cutaways to all the. This is who you've been. What's the old saying? You have been watching. You have been watching Arnold Schwarzenegger, Carl Weathers, and they all do these like looks down the camera and they smile and stuff. You're just like, dude, I just saw his spine get ripped out. It's so strange.
For us, it's like for the UK, it's like the Dad's Army ending.
Exactly.
Where at the end of Dad's Army,
that.
you see the characters and it's literally that. Like, I've just been dead, but I'm going to give you a smiling look at the camera. Like,
yeah, it's quite bizarre in Predator. This is, like you said, the rest of the film's so weird. I guess we should have seen it coming. But even in a movie as odd as this, it's still quite jarring. So, like, the final like line in this film is like a throwaway quip, and then a freeze frame. They're just like being caught in the headlights. Very strange. Very, very strange. Anyway, let's move on to Rob's take. I'm sure you have a whole fucking bunch for this film.
I have a lot. I bulletproofed a few. Not bulletproofed. I bullet pointed a few, but I have two that I'll go into a bit more detail. But so I wrote it down as the logic problem. So bullet pointed: guns firing underwater like they're in John Wick Aquatic Edition. Jet skis that accelerate like Formula One cars. A flood that behaves like it's reading the script. A sheriff's department so incompetent it makes the cops in Die Hard look tactical.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Yeah,
all apt.
The two I want to go into is what feels like a bit of a factual error. If this town is flooding and they're evacuated and they know they're going to flood the town, wouldn't they shut off the power?
You think so? That's a good point. There's a lot of electricity going on still, isn't there?
So Kenny wouldn't like this thing's metal. There's electricity. Like that shouldn't have happened.
All I can think is that they weren't expecting it to be as bad as it was. Because even when they were going up to Dorian, they're just like, oh, you should probably leave town. There's going to be some pretty nasty flooding. I just don't think they thought it was going to be as bad as it was. Because surely you'd be like, Doreen, you are going to fucking die. Like, it was almost like they incorporated Dorian into the film, then forgot about it. Like, they just cut away at one point in the film. Dorian and her husband are just up a tree. Like, what the fuck are they doing? How did they get up that goddamn tree?
And he's like dying as well. Like,
she thinks he's dying. Just like, why is your husband done? Very strange. But that's a great point.
But the other one is what the fuck is the banister made out of that she can't break it with? I've broken more banisters by accident, right? But
you're like, dude, you're like 6'4".
Yeah, no, I get that, but fucking, I was gonna say Tom Cruise. Christian Slater rocked up. You're breaking that banister.
Tiny,
you don't have
guy.
to find. Yeah, but you don't have to find the gun and shoot the handcuffs.
I think you underestimate, like, especially underwater, like, because they do like cut to it. Because I was thinking the same thing, but it is metal below the wood, and I was just like, underwater. I think that's actually
if it's metal below the wood, then she isn't cutting through them to get to the top.
Well, that's why they end up shooting through the handcuffs, don't they? Because she's basically.
Yeah, but she cut all the.
No.
So, are you saying the spindles?
She was unscrewing the metal banisters from the wood at the top. So that was just allowing her to move further up, kind of thing.
No, I'm calling bullshit. I think you can break the banister. I
love that. That was just you. Just like I've committed to this because you're just like, oh, I didn't realize that. Go fuck yourself.
I've doubled down.
That's why it's a wrong mistake.
Like how dare you speak factual? Fuck you!
No. That was the true belligerence of a Rob's take, and I love your commitment to it. So yeah,
I have gone like those two. Fucking hell! I went from clever. Oh, why didn't they turn off the electricity to Yeah. Why didn't they just break the metal of the banister? Because I missed
Yeah.
that completely. Yeah.
And even after explaining it, you're just like, nah, fuck it, I'm sticking with it. So fair enough,
Yeah.
fair enough.
Yeah. I want to find a metal banister now and prove it. That was it, mate.
Explain that to your wife when you just torn the fucking stairs to pieces.
That was
Favorite
it too.
scene? I mean, for me, it's probably the church shootout has got a bit of everything. By this point, like I said, you mentioned the fact that this film is tonally schizophrenic. This sequence in particular has just got everything. Like they just throw everything in the sequence. But for that reason, it is fun. And I'd given up on like kind of logic and sense by this point. I was just like, this film is just what it is. It's absolutely mental. And that church sequence, you've got, of course, jet skis going through the window.
Yeah.
The aforementioned sequence where, fucking Christian Slater's jumping off the roof with a shotgun. The Western style triple showdown, all the double crosses. I'm like, yeah, I'm all for it by this point. So I'll go with the church shootout. And like I said, I want to stress again just how great the actual shooting in the film was. So
For me, it kind of like for the same things you said, but it was the jet ski chase through the school. It's kind of the moment the film says, "Yep, physics never heard of him." You got jet skis indoors. There's gunfights in the corridors. Slater's trying to do his best aquatic parkour. I think Morgan Freeman's like considering his role as his agent at this point. I think it's ridiculous, impossible, and it's the closest the movie's getting to justifying its entire existence. I think it's a great little scene, and it kicks off everything else for us.
Up until this point, you're trying to get your head around the idea. It's like, oh, well, I guess like Jim's just a fucking dude and he's just working with a bunch of randos. Like, that's what they like. At this point, they haven't told you. Be like, well, why would Mr. Miller be a teacher with fucking tape on his glasses? He's clearly not a professional criminal. But these guys who are apparently morons can also just like easily water ski indoors. Like they're all water skiing, or jet skiing, like stuntmen, and we just absolutely accept it. So yeah, good shout. Oscar season in which we hand out 3 Oscars and 3 Razzies in categories of our choosing. For me, the Oscar for most useful penknife that a character has for no apparent reason goes to Karen and her magic fucking penknife, which just gets used what felt like 72 times. The Oscar for surprisingly awesome shootout goes to every scene with a gun in Hard Rain. As I said, they don't actually, one of the few things they don't overdo are the shootouts. So there's very little in the way of, diving, blah, blah, blah. It's just people having shootouts. It just looks and sounds fantastic. And the Oscar for best use of a crossword puzzle to show that you're not to be fucked with goes to Jim and his awesome hat.
For me, the Oscar for the best actor who realized too late what movie he was in was Morgan Freeman.
Yeah.
He's delivering moral gravitas in a film where people fire shotguns underwater.
Yeah. Weird mix, man. Weird mix.
The Oscar for the best use of water in a motion picture, the entire production. Every scene is soaked. Every single scene. It's just really wet.
No, it is. It is so impressive.
And finally, the Oscar for the best supporting actor having a surprisingly good time is Randy Quaid. Sweaty, unhinged, and shouting like he's trying to intimidate the weather. He's just going for it.
He's like you said, he elevates a lot of the movies he's in. In this film, he's great as the kind of like he has 3 stages, and he's good in all 3 of them as the kind of put upon but kind of competent sheriff. Then the kind of opportunistic, I might be a bit of a psycho. Then the pure lunatic that he becomes at the end of the film. I'm not convinced that all 3 performances belong in the same movie, but he's very good in all parts of it. That's for damn sure. In terms of Razzies, the Razzie for worst bad guy ever goes to Kenny and his endless incompetence. We already explained it earlier. Kenny is dog shit in this film. The Razzie for Tony misplaced freeze frame goes to the final shot of Heavy Rain. I mean, we just explained it, but it really is that insane. The Razzie for potentially complex, morally grey, and nuanced character that suddenly becomes a one-note psychopath goes to Randy Quaid and his portrayal of Sheriff Collins. Now, I appreciate you just had him in the Oscar section and I had him in the Razzie section. I'd happily see him in both for that reason.
Yeah.
Like, he's really good at doing it. It's just insane that it's all happening at the same time.
And I think he'd happily accept both awards.
I think he would. I love the idea. Like, if any actor was going to get both a Razzie and an Oscar for the same performance, I genuinely think it might be Randy Quaid.
Yeah. Right. So the Razzie for the most confused tone goes to the script. It's unsure if it's a heist movie, a disaster movie, a thriller, or a comedy. And all the other ones we've thrown in. The Razzie for the worst attempt at romance goes to Slater and Minnie Driver. It's like it's the chemistry of 2 people who met in a car park before filming.
But remember they had that weird scene in the car together that built up the romance, and you can probably explains why they end on a freeze frame. They're like, we don't know what to do with these fucking characters.
And
They got no chemistry, no romance. Just end the movie. Just end it.
did you notice her American accent slipped as well into her English when she said my friend did me a favor. She went, nice favor. And it was like, wow, your accent just slipped there, love.
Just had a bit of a wobble.
Yeah.
It's the least of this movie's problems, but yeah, it's out there.
And the Razzie for the most illogical flood behavior goes to The Water of Hard Rain. It rises when the plot needs tension. It stops when characters need to chat. It's just,
No, it really
it's
does.
alive. It's alive.
Like you said, the dam bursting, I don't know, again, it's just like at the end of the film, we're just like, oh, we need a bit more water. So just get the dam going. So
yeah,
the water completely reacts to just whatever the script needs it to do. Like nobody's reacting to the water is reacting to everyone else. It's very strange. Any alternative titles for this one?
Yep. You won't be surprised to hear that they're basically just like takes on Hard Rain.
Mm-hmm. Chubby Rain.
Chubby. Oh my God, Chubby Rain. I watched that not long ago.
You watch? Bowfinger.
Bowfinger, yeah.
Yeah, we probably should explain because people are like, wait, what's Chubby Rain? And it could relate to obviously Bowfinger, but I always think of the Matrix Revolutions, the third film, when he has that fight with Agent Smith at the end, and they created new machines to make the Rain just look extra chubby. But anyway,
yeah. Right. So Argentina, Violence in the Storm.
Not bad.
Brazil, Storm.
Sure.
Bulgaria, Wet Money. French Canada, Weather Alert.
No, that sounds so pony.
Czech Republic. A few of these countries did the. I'll just use Czech Republic. Use the original title that it was going to be, which was Flood.
Not bad. I actually think Hard Rain isn't a particularly great title.
No, I mean Croatia went with Heavy Rain, along with Estonia and Finland.
Mm-hmm.
France, Hell Rain.
No.
Greece, Chasing the Storm.
No, it's a different film. It's more like Twisters.
Hungary, Deluge. Deluge, however you want to say it.
Sure.
Lithuania, Loot.
No.
Romania, really, really thinking about this film. Robbery During the Flood.
No, okay. Well, again, it's exactly what it says in the tin.
Russia, Downpour.
I think that's better.
Slovenia.
I prefer both Downpour and Flood, actually.
Yeah. Slovenia, Rain to Kill.
Okay.
And United States working title at some point was Violence in the Tempest.
Violence in the Tempest sounds a little bit too dramatic, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Hard Rain. It sounds like a straight-to-video movie. I think that was one of his problems. It sounded more budget than it actually was. But hey, any facts for this one?
Yeah, we're starting off on one that really didn't need to be in yet. The morning after the film's LA premiere, Christian Slater reported to Ventura City Jail to begin a 90-day prison sentence for drug offenses, assault, and battery. He would be released after 57 days and enrolled in an anti-addiction program immediately after.
Maybe that kind of went some way towards his downfall as a leading man as well.
Maybe. At the time of filming, the movie had the largest painted scenic backdrop ever used in a film.
Really? Oh, yeah, I read that before. Yeah. Like, it happens in one of the sequences where it's like a jet ski sequence. So it's like the biggest painting, like I say, background painting of all time. And nobody notices it because you're just not looking at it. It's just you're looking at the jet skis.
Minnie Driver stated she hated working on the movie due to the intense and continuous wet conditions.
Yeah. Well, she should have seen that one coming, in fairness.
Morgan Freeman disliked the movie and said years later after its release, did any of you see this movie? Don't. Just don't.
Ooh, bit harsh, Morgan. Bit harsh.
Executives were so fearful of an outbreak of Legionnaire's disease while filming that they insisted all pipes used for water effects were fully flushed every hour. Technical crew tried to inform execs that the pipes were technically being flushed continually by the flow of water. It fell on deaf ears, and the resulting insistence to pause production hourly made the movie go over budget by 50 million and completed 60 months late. There was no true risk of Legionnaire's disease.
I mean, that's one of the biggest issues with this film. Like, don't get me wrong, it flopped anyway, but you watch it and like, man, this film just cost too much to make.
In early stages of production, John was slated to the ref. Right, I'll use this because this is just a bunch of like this person was going to direct and this person.
Yeah, fair enough.
Minnie Driver said during an interview in April 2024 with Jamila Jamil, that the producers told her not to wear a wetsuit whilst filming with rain machines. Driver said it's set during a
Wonder why.
massive storm. There were huge rain machines. We shot crazy hours. It was tough. Everybody else could wear a wetsuit underneath their costume. And I was told by the producers that I couldn't because they wanted to see my nipples. And there was
Hmm.
no point in having the wet t-shirt if you couldn't have what was underneath it.
Charming.
Okay, no.
Which
Yeah.
sounds ludicrous now, but in the 90s, yeah, I can totally believe it. 100%.
Driver said,
Hunted.
sorry,
Oh,
it
sorry,
hasn't
sorry, go
finished.
for it. Sorry,
No,
mate.
driver said she pushed back on the request but was made to feel like an idiot and that she didn't understand that this is what's going on. Driver recalls, I then remember it being like, boy, people wouldn't speak to me on the set. I was so punished for it. It was leaked to the press that I called and complained about conditions, but it was as if there was nothing to complain about and I was just complaining. It's this gaslighting. Media
Mm.
gaslighting that's supported by the environment that you're in. So you turn on yourself like, it's my fault for saying anything, you stupid big mouth. You should have shut up. I mean, come on, mate. Like, I mean, don't get me
It's
wrong. For a 14-year-old boy, I was quite happy. But,
Yes, yes, yes. But
but,
when you grow up and you hear
but,
these things, you're like, it's
yes,
just all a bit gross. And for the sake
fucking,
of like a nipple, it's just like, what
yeah,
are we doing, guys? It's not that kind
yeah.
of movie
I
either.
bet you, fucking, they weren't. Really wanted Betty White to wear a wetsuit. You know?
Oh, yeah, yeah, I can imagine
Yeah.
so. But yeah, very strange. And like you said, like, it all sounds very unsavory, but sadly, not particularly surprising.
Oh,
Um,
last one. Sorry, last one. I just read it. Jet skis or personal watercraft do not have headlights.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah,
Fantastic. I'm so glad you brought that one
yeah,
up. Hunt for the Future, remake sequel, Let It Die, Leave Well Alone. I think it's just Leave Well Alone. It's absolutely a movie of its time. If anything, it's stuck a little bit between the 80s and 90s, doesn't know what it wants to be. But yeah, I don't want to say Let It Die because I think it's quite fun. And I think it's totally watchable today because it's all practical effects. It's got a pretty good cast. It's mental for all the reasons we've outlined. But there's very little in this movie which tells you, oh, this is like an old film. Like it looks like a modern film for the most
yeah.
part. So yeah, leave it well alone and just watch it as it is. Like it looks great in HD.
Franchise it. Every time there's a flood in a film, have a robbery somewhere. Just franchise
Mm-hmm.
the whole fucking thing.
Well, I don't
But
think we're getting a
realistically,
hard rain soon, put it that way.
yeah, just leave it well alone. Not let it die because I enjoyed watching
No,
this, and I will enjoy watching it again. So yeah, just leave it well alone. You don't need a
yeah,
remake. You don't
it's
need a sequel. You don't need anything of that.
no. It's
No.
deserving of its place as something of a cult film. You can see why it's built up like a following. And yeah, like if it's not one of those sort of like if you haven't seen this film in a long time and you're worried about it, don't. Like it totally holds up. It's as dumb
Yeah,
as it ever was. It has problems, but it's not one of those films you go back, go, oh God, that looks rough or something. Like this is a good looking film, largely well acted, if somewhat, inconsistently, but
yeah.
yeah, totally worth revisiting. Make a change. I mean, I know we were going to say about like the thing is, what am I going to pick? The inconsistent tone, the rape sequence, which absolutely has to go, or the fact that I just have no idea who Tom is. It could be any of those. I'm going to be after what you just said about the mini driver thing. I'm going to say the rape sequence just has to go. It is inexcusable that it's in this film. So that's going to be my make a change.
For me, it was pick a genre and commit. Be a
Yeah, yeah.
disaster movie, a heist movie, a thriller. Just not all three simultaneously, whilst also flirting with comedy. And maybe don't release a water-themed action movie in January.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of strange decisions on this film. In terms of video games, unsurprisingly, there wasn't a hard rain video game. There is a heavy rain video game, which I think might confuse me. I actually called
Yeah.
this movie
Yeah.
Heavy
I
Rain once.
love Heavy Rain, but I was always a fan of Quantum, whatever they're called, the guys that make them.
Quantic Dreams.
Quantic Dream, that's something, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Some of the I tell you, if you go back and play those games, some of the dialogue's a little bit ropey, but
Oh,
they
Rope,
had
even
interesting ideas.
what was the one before Heavy Rain? Fahrenheit.
Yeah,
Fahrenheit was a
that's
great game, but when
different
that
name in America, I think.
when that became like, I don't know, weird time traveling aliens at the end of it, spoiler
Yeah,
alert, it was
yeah.
very odd.
Yeah, they never quite know when to put their foot on the brakes, do they, with those games?
No.
But I would go for, and this is just because I love this game and I want to see it re-released, is Nintendo's Wave Race Blue Storm. There was a whole bunch of Wave Race games, there's Wave Race 64, for instance, but I always had a soft spot for the GameCube game from 2001 because it was a launch title and I got it on launch day with my GameCube. And I'm hoping that it'll get re-released on like Switch Online for the Switch 2 or whatever. But I'm just like, basically that game crossed with like Wipeout. Like I don't need to relive the story. I just like the idea of people riding around the town, which you kind of lay out like a course,
Yeah.
in jet skis with guns, and they're just kind of like, it's not like a traditional race. You're trying to get to the money or something. It's of course totally ludicrous. Doesn't have much to do with the film. But when I think of this film, I can't help but think of jet skis, and I love that jet ski game. So I'm going to
Yeah.
go with Wave Race Blue Storm.
Well, I mean, you went completely different. I didn't think you were going that way, but I went probably the more traditional way. I went with Max Payne Remedy Entertainment.
Yeah,
It's
good
a
job.
soaked, miserable protagonist running through collapsing environments. You got gunfighting on impossible locations. It's a tone that swings between gritty noir and an unintentional comedy. And it's a hero who looks permanently exhausted and slightly waterlogged. And I think,
And he has proved, despite its noir trappings, that his character and that franchise is flexible because
Max Payne 3.
Max Payne 3 does feel like, and I know it was developed by Rockstar instead of
Yeah,
Remedy, wasn't it?
Remedy, yeah.
But yeah, why not kind of stick in small town America with jet skis and flood?
Yeah.
I think that's probably the more sensible answer. IMDb, so this is where we pick a random 10-star and 1-star review for this movie. Before we do that, I try and guess how many written reviews there are for this film. I've been way off recently, man. Like I've underestimated the pull of some of these fucking movies. Like, was it Cutthroat Island had tons.
Yeah.
There can't be that many for this film. 282.
154.
Oh my God. See, I
Yeah.
was going to go lower, never mind. Of those 154 10-star reviews, I reckon some people really like this film. I'm going to go with like 36.
12.
12. Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough.
Uh, title, to sum this up, a good film for all.
Oh, very nice, very nice, very quaint.
I really did not know what to expect with Hard Rain because it was just sheer chance that I saw this. I must say, once it started, it had me glued to the screen from start to finish. Morgan Freeman and Christian Slater were compelling in their performances. Randy Quaid as the sheriff of this small town gave an outstanding performance in this non-stop action knockout thrill. There is so much here I could say about this movie, but to make this short, I would just like to say I have no hesitation in recommending this to anyone who likes their fast-paced action type of film laced with humor along the way. And may I just add that Betty White, better known as Rose in the Golden Girls, was just great in her performance. To sum this up, a good film for all, because the entire film was made in water due to the storyline that the town was supposed to be flooded by intense rain. It made this film very unusual. Thus explains the title, Hard Rain.
It felt like he was wrapping it up for most of the. No, it doesn't matter. In terms of 1-star reviews, I like. Is it like a similar amount? Because it feels like not too many people would like hate this film. I feel like there's going to be like
less.
Yeah, I think it'll be less. I think it'll be like 8.
Oh, 6. Exactly
6,
half.
right.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I get it's just one of those films that it's just like to come out and be like 1 star feels a little bit harsh, but
I mean, this is a bit harsh. Titled Another Sad Example of How Low Actors Can Go.
Oof. Well, he has given it 1 star in fairness.
Yeah. What a profane film this is. For some reason, maybe for some reason, maybe because Morgan Freeman starred in it, but I didn't expect it to be this bad. I had also forgotten how much of a bitter, old, and profane man Ed Asner has become, and this role fits him. Unfortunately, Lou Grant, he ain't anymore. Do you think he's got word of the day toilet paper
I
profanity
was
on there?
literally going to make the exact same joke.
What's even more disgusting is Betty White in here. Yes, the Golden Girl and Mary Tyler Moore show favorite talks like a scumbag in here too. It just shows you these classic era actors are no morally better than the younger people of today. The only difference is that the veterans weren't allowed to swear. If had been able to, well, this film is an example of what we would have heard. The language, which including 6 usage of the Lord's name in vain in the first 15 minutes, was too unappealing for me. The constant rain in this also helped the dreary atmosphere. Dreary, depressing, too profane with unlikable characters. Yeah, I can see why this movie bombed at the box office. Then he went to church on a Sunday, and I'm sorry to make that joke, but Jesus Christ.
Yeah, well, no. I mean, we know where he's coming from. This is coming from a very biblical background. You think he might have made mention of the fact that there were the biblical references. Maybe that was an issue, I suppose.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's clearly written by a psycho, but that's often what you get with the 1-star and 10-star reviews. Which brings us to our own reviews, hopefully not so mental. This one's, again, really easy one for me. This is a 3, but a strong yes on the recommend. There's no way I'm giving this more than a 3, but there's no way I give it less. Like, this is such a 3-star movie. It's so fucking 3. It's like, couldn't be any more 3. But it's just one of those films. If someone's like, "Oh, should I watch Hard Rain?" Dude, you should totally fucking watch Hard Rain. It's loads of fun. Is it good? Not really, but it's loads. Again, harsh because elements of it are actually really good for the reasons we've already gone through. But it's just so insane that I couldn't give it any more than a 3. So yeah, 3 and a yes for me.
It's exactly the same for me. It is, and it's something I haven't used for a while, but it is so middle of the road. It is the perfect 3. It is just so down the middle. It can't get any better. It's not going to get any worse.
Yeah, it's like sometimes you get 3-star movies, and it's because they are traditionally middle of the road. In so much that it's just like, oh, it's a whatever action film, and you just kind of forget it. This film is so up and down, so all over the place that you couldn't give it any more than the 3 because the highs are so clearly high, the lows are so clearly insane, but the end product it somehow works because there's enough good stuff in there. But yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we come down on the side of it being a strong recommendation, despite the fact that it's clearly a 3-star film.
Well, I haven't actually said it yet, but yes, I would recommend it.
Oh, sorry, my apologies. I
Okay.
assumed that was the way it was going.
Yeah,
My apologies.
yeah,
Sir.
and I would recommend it. I mean, I enjoyed this film for other things other than Mini Driver, but it's a fun watch, and yeah, give it a go.
Mini Driver
honestly.
was a big. I think a lot of guys our age had a crush on Mini Driver in the mid to late 90s. In fairness,
Yeah.
She had that kind of strong girl next door vibe. Where you're just like, oh, kind of dream girlfriend. Especially, well, the difference between this, despite the fact that it's a much better movie, Grosse Point Blank, is. You see her in films like that where she has great chemistry. Usually she has fantastic chemistry with the leads. It's just not with Christian Slater. But he obviously had a few things going on at this time in his life, so we'll allow it. Yeah. So that's been 1998's Hard Rain. Next, the last part of our box office bomb season of podcast. We're back to kind of normal scheduled podcasting / viewing / listening next week. It's my choice, and honestly. I couldn't believe we hadn't already covered this film to the point where I thought we might have actually covered this film. I had to look it up. I was like, have we done this film? The year is 1981.
81. Okay, a bit more.
I think you'll definitely get off this. The director is John Carpenter, who we've already mentioned on this podcast, actually.
Oh, 81, John Carpenter. Assault on Precinct 13? That was the 70s.
That was 70s. Another film we mentioned on this podcast.
Not Halloween.
No. Super iconic.
Yeah. He's done fucking loads, John Carpenter. Give me something else.
Well, stars Kurt Russell.
We've done The Thing.
Yeah, I know we've done The Thing. It's not The Thing.
Oh, okay.
Before The Thing. Am I going to have to say, like, Eye Patch?
Oh, my fucking God. But I thought that was 79. Escape from LA.
81.
Oh,
no?
Escape from New York. My apologies. Escape from New York.
There's no, and by the way, we are not doing Escape from LA, man. I was just like, we were talking about it. This must have been a few months ago. I was like, maybe I was being harsh on it. And it was on like fucking Tubi or something. I was like, I'm giving this film 20 minutes. No, it's ass. It is ass. It just looks so bad.
So we will mention it next week. Mm-hmm. But I will go on to say it's the exact same film, but 15 years later. So it was 1996 was Escape from LA.
Yeah.
They send him into a new island. For some reason, an earthquake has caused an island. They sent him to an island to do something around the president's family.
Yeah.
They've given him some sort of disease to make him do it. It's something that's going to end the world. Snake fucking screws him over at the end of a cassette or a mini disc. It's the same film, even to the point where it's like there's gliding in there. He's sent in a glider. He's sent in a submarine.
It's just a really rubbish version of it.
It's a really rubbish version, and the CGI is terrible.
Well, that's one of the biggest kind of crimes
for a film that was released 3 years after Jurassic Park.
Yeah,
you get that tsunami and that shark.
Yeah, it just looks terrible. We're talking about the end of this podcast. When you part of the experience of going back and rewatching these films is like you might have fond memories and you don't know how they're going to hold up. And you get a film like Hard Rain, you're just like, dude, it looks like it could have been filmed yesterday for the most part. It's a good looking film. Escape from LA is not that fucking movie. And in fairness, Escape from New York, which is a much better movie, a much more iconic movie, it's not going to look like it was made yesterday. That is an 80s fucking movie right there. Admittedly, one I've not seen for a while. Very iconic, and obviously one of Kurt Russell's more memorable characters. But I suspect it's going to look of its time, but in a less egregious way than its sequel.
When I think of Escape from New York, obviously you got Isaac Hayes as the Duke. But it's his right-hand man, the weird punk guy with that face. Is absolutely, man, like it's such a rubber face. It's like if they remade it in the 90s, Jim Carrey would be perfect as that kind of guy.
Yeah, I can see
that rubber face. So
I think it's going to be an interesting one. No, because obviously it's held in high regard. I remember when I was younger, like I thought I was going to love it, and I loved Kurt Russell, and the character's so iconic, and obviously he has lived on. You think of like Metal Gear Solid, and the fact that I basically just stole the character for a famous series of video games, is that the character was better than the movie itself.
Yeah,
but admittedly, I've not seen it for a very long time, so I am quite
So
looking forward to that. And there is a new UHD cut of this, and I've decided like I'm going to buy the ultimate HD version of it because I think the it's one of those ones that might well benefit from the upgrade if it's a decent transition.
we're around the same age as you're already
Mhm.
aware. So
Thanks.
what came first for you?
Mhm.
Because for me, I was like Escape from LA was or Escape from New York was already released by the time I was born.
Yeah, yeah.
So I never watched her as a kid.
Mhm.
Going as we've already said, go into the video shop and buy and all. So 1996 when this came out, that's prime age for me to go and
Mhm.
rent video. So I watched Escape from LA first,
Ooh,
and
rough.
then New York.
I watched New York before I watched LA,
I didn't
and
even know LA was a sequel
oh, do you
when
not?
I no, not when I bought
I guess if you watch
when
it
I
when you're a
rented it.
kid, I
Yeah,
suppose.
yeah,
Yeah, I was fully aware as a sequel. The thing it was that weird thing because, like I said, I liked Escape from New York growing up, but I didn't love it. I don't have the same attachment to this film that I do to say, The Thing, for
yeah,
instance, or and like I've gone back and like I didn't have an attachment to Assault on Precinct 13, for instance, but I went back and watched it. And I was like, this film is genuinely
yeah,
fantastic,
yeah.
and I'm hoping for this film it's just a matter of like I perhaps watch it at the wrong time in my life, or maybe it's just in that kind of sometimes movies we've said this before how you can watch a movie and especially when you were younger and say it came out in like the late 70s early 80s, all of a sudden say you're watching it in like the early 90s to mid 90s, it suddenly feels old, but if you
Yeah.
give it a few more years it suddenly starts feeling quaint and retro again kind of thing. And I'm thinking, oh, maybe I just watched it at like the wrong age. And like I said, I never like disliked it. I remember liking it, but I just never had that same attachment to it in the same way that I did say like um what God, I can't think of his other films now. The Thing and Halloween and Big Trouble in Little China. Sorry, that was the one that was escaping me. So, but yeah, like I said, I'm going to watch the UHD version. Hopefully,
Yeah,
that'll
cool.
spruce up the visuals a little bit. But I am looking forward to it because I've not seen it for a long time. So
We're gonna have to finish off the John Carpenter Apocalypse trilogy now as well, aren't we? We'll
we
have to
are
watch
going to have to. Yeah,
Darkness
yeah.
at
I
some
mean,
point. Yeah.
to be honest, I was thinking about this a few days ago. I still find it amazing that like 250 plus episodes in, we still haven't done a Stephen King season because we're both like massive Stephen
Yeah,
King fans.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's but fundamentally one of the main reasons we started this podcast because we started talking and realized, oh, we both like Stephen King books, and then the movies followed on from there. So I feel like a Stephen King
We've we've
season is
we've
in the post.
scattered them in, but we
We
haven't done a
have.
full season yet.
But I feel
I
like we
find
could
it.
do like I feel like we could do quite a fun season of like do a couple of big hitters, but then like a couple of like real curios kind of in there
Yeah,
that we have a
yeah.
soft spot. I'm not gonna lie to you, part of me is still like, maybe I'll pick Dreamcatcher. Maybe I'll fucking pick
Dreamcatcher,
Dreamcatcher.
Jesus. Uh, I'm still amazed. 200 odd episodes in, 200 and what 50 something.
54, I
We
think.
haven't gone back and done Beverly Hills Cop 2, like a
Yeah,
film
that's
we
insane.
both adore. Like,
Yeah, yeah, that's a weird one. I mean, there's still plenty of movies for us to cover.
oh
Don't
yeah,
worry,
yeah.
we will never, I repeat, ever do Beverly Hills Cop 3.
No,
That is
no,
not
that's fine.
fucking happening.
I mean, I'm
One
not
of
even
the
going to
worst sequels of all time.
like joking about Escape from LA. At some point, we may do it. We ain't
Right, no, no,
touching
no. All
Beverly
right,
Hills Cop
jokes
3.
aside, I actually wouldn't. I think I could have fun going back, despite the fact that I think it's bad and the visuals are horrendous. I could have fun going back to Escape from LA. I genuinely
Yeah,
think I could enjoy a rewatch with the right state of mind. There is no joy to be had. Like going back and doing Beverly Hills Cop 3 would like be doing like Die Hard 5.
yeah,
I'm just like, no, they're just fucking horrible movies I never want to
yeah.
see again. Part of me is like, oh, if I was doing it for the podcast, I have to sit through the whole film. I just just pick apart
Yeah.
Escape from LA. But it would be a crime for us to do Escape from LA before Escape from New York. So let's get this one out the way first, and then we'll see about that in the future.
We'll
But
think about it when we're running out of films. Maybe we'll go to LA. But
yes,
yeah,
but you have been listening to us cover 1998's Hard Rain. Please do join us next week for 1981's Escape from New York. Rob, anything else to add before we wrap this up?
yeah. Just a couple of comments from a couple of listeners. So, Charlotte on Spotify, she wrote about Time Bandits, telling
Oh,
us it's a
cool.
quality film. And did we see the original Jabba the Hutt character at 34 minutes 25 in? She's sure it's a nod.
Oh, from the original New Hope. So yeah,
Yeah,
the theatrical cut before they CG'd in the weird Jabba, of course. Yeah, yeah, and he has
yeah.
like the shoulders and all that other nonsense.
It was a
The
dude, wasn't it?
shoulders.
At
He's
some
got
point, it was
like fur on his shoulders. That's how I
yeah.
remember. It was just a guy. It was just a guy.
And just one more comment from a listener on YouTube who listened to Cutthroat Island, who is a massive fan of Gina Davis. So this
Oh,
is a
don't blame
belated
him.
reflections. I also adore Gina Davis, and I agree that she is a brilliant actor. I'm glad you acknowledged that she was forced to do this movie. I'm glad you thought it improved in the third act. I too was satisfied with it when I first saw it at age 13, but I resent it for damaging Gina's career. The Finnish word for throat is the same as the word for cucumber. The translation of the title is Island of the Throat Cutters. I'm assuming that was coming from when we were talking about alternative titles.
Yeah, totally.
I can't wait to see Gina in Netflix's new series, The Burrows, on May the 21st. I'm sure she will be better in that than she was in Cutthroat Island. I mean, no duh. I liked how you immediately started talking about the movie in this podcast instead of spending the first 10 to 20 minutes talking about unrelated topics. Now, straight to the meat for us. Straight to the meat.
No, it'll usually be like 10 minutes in that you'll be talking about like the 7th kind of Kickboxer sequel. But, I think that comes quite naturally.
Yeah.
It's not like we're there's no advertising in this. We just go off on tangents every so often.
That's still related to the film, so somehow.
Tangentially to say the least. But yeah, there's usually a connection somehow.
And they finish with saying, I recommend Gina Davis's 1992 film Hero, which also stars Dustin Hoffman, Andy Garcia, and Joan Cusack for a future podcast. I wrote back saying we'll definitely check it out. I do apologize. I didn't think I knew that film, but over here in the UK, we knew it as Accidental Hero, where Dustin Hoffman.
Sorry, I was just I was like, what's this film Hero? I know Accidental Hero, yeah.
Accidental Hero, yeah, with Dustin Hoffman lies or something about. Dustin Hoffman saves everybody but makes Andy Garcia take credit, if I remember rightly, of that film from a plane crash. So
I know the film. I've never actually seen it. I mean,
I've seen it.
5 on Empire, and
it might be worth a shot for the future.
It's got decent Rotten Tomatoes score, so obviously a decent cast, and like the listener, I'm a big fan of Gina Davis, and that film really did do a career, and it's a bit of a shame. I know it's another flop, but we're both massive fans of The Long Kiss Goodnight, which we've also covered on this podcast. Yeah. She's absolutely fantastic in A League of Their Own, another movie we've covered in this podcast. So, there's a lot of love for Gina Davis out there, especially on this podcast. Yeah. It's just, and, she's perfectly decent in Cutthroat Island. It's just the movie around her just doesn't live up to that. Sadly.
As I said, unfortunately, she was horribly miscast. But she is a perfectly decent. I think she was, but
I don't think she's miscast. I just think I just don't think the movie worked. But it is what it is. Anyway, I've been Liam, he's been Rob, and you have been listening to the Hey Guys podcast. Cheers, guys. Bye.
Cheers, guys. Bye now.
Oh, and before I forget, where can folk reach us if they were so inclined to?
Well, you can actually reach us on Hey You Guys 80s at Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter. But if you want to send us a mail, do heyyouguys80s@gmail.com. Send us in your recommendations. Send us in your thoughts about any of the episodes. Just literally talk to us. We'll have a one-sided talk with you on the podcast.
Yeah. We're nice folk. Get in touch. But no, cheers, guys. Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys. Bye now.